Oh, this is the Variety Kids. So this right here, this car right here is my car, or it's more the family car because I'm not fully turned loose yet, but I'm the one who drives it the most by far out of my family. Um, uh, and today I'm gonna show you inside of it. So first of all, let's talk about if I like it. So I was going to say that, okay, this is like basically like a 360 of the car's internal area. I was going to say overall, I mean, this car, I do like this car pretty well. But however, I mean, however, I will say that this car's internal area is a lot smaller, or is kind of small, which it doesn't really bother me too much. In fact, actually, let me just show you, and maybe you'll be able to see. I don't know if you can see, but I was going to say my head is pretty, or the top of my head is pretty close to the ceiling, so that's how small the internal area is. However, it is worth noting that, I am pretty tall. I'm over 6 feet, so that's probably part of it. As I was going to say that we did get a 2011 Hyundai, and part of the reason, I'm sorry, we didn't get one, but however, we test drove a 2011 Hyundai. Part of the reason why I didn't feel fully comfortable was because of the small internal air, or was because of the relatively small internal area. I'm going to say, actually, when comparing it to my dad's car, which is a 2016 car, like as you can see here, it has like a good amount more internal area. Yeah, it's like bigger size, the size is, the size is a good amount bigger, and yeah, or if I haven't said it yet, I was going to say that the age of this car, or while I still do like this car, as I said before, the age of this car has like began to like wear on me. Yeah, this is a 2008 car, so it's 13 years old now. I was also going to say that, or actually, before my parents upgraded to their new cars, both of them actually upgraded to a new car at the end of 2018. I was going to say that I actually have a hard time. You know what? I'm just going to put it on the front-facing camera just because I feel like. Okay, so actually, before they upgraded, my mom had a 2010 car, while my dad had a 2009 car. And I mentioned that I found it hard to believe that this car is only 1 and 2 years older than them. I don't know. I mean, however, my dad did say, or I told my dad that as well, that I found that hard to believe. But my dad did say that part of that reason is because cars age and feel older over time, and that does make sense. So I guess I'm going to show you the car, or I guess I'm going to turn on the car right now and like show you this and show you what there is. So, yeah, I was gonna say that, so it actually has a digital speedometer, which I do like. I was going to say, that was actually something I said I really wanted, which I did soften on that desire, like, after driving my parents' cars for a while, because I actually didn't get a car until I was 17 and a half. I got one, on August 31st of last year. Yeah. And then as you can see there, it has a little over 184,000 miles. And I was actually going to say, so I actually crashed this car. I actually ran into a car in a parking lot. Yeah, as you can see there, one of the bumpers is cracked, and because I ran into a car, and we actually haven't gotten that fixed yet, unfortunately. Yeah, and then, so yeah, that explains why the DRL is on, I was told, I was actually going to say that actually I was on my way to Young Life, and actually once I got there, someone who saw me driving there actually told me that he saw saw that one of my daylight lights was out, and I did tell him about how I saw DRL, on my car dashboard, and then someone else there told me about how that stands for daylight running light. Yeah. I was also going to, I don't know, I mean, and then this is also similar. I was also going to say that, that actually whenever we first got this car, it did have a check engine light, it did have a check engine light, but however, we haven't really had any other problems besides the DRL since then. And in case I haven't made it clear, that DRL is caused by the fact that the light is is caused by the fact that the drivers, that it's like something must be cracked in there, causing it to not work. Okay, alright. what else is there to show you? Oh yeah, it has a CD player. I've actually never used that before. I've actually never used this because I've never traveled outside of the United States in this car, but you can set it to kilometers per hour. Yeah. And then, yeah, you can actually lower the brightness of this, which, yeah, actually a mechanic, whenever we took this car to the mechanics to fix it, I was going to say that actually, or they did dim the brightness, which, I don't know, that did bother me, and then I noticed you could turn this up and down, I usually keep it pretty bright so I can see my speed. Yeah. And then I was gonna say, yeah, the AC, and I don't know, now I feel like talking about what works. So the AC works, yeah, or we did, there were some issues with it, but we did get that fixed at the, or shortly after we got it fixed. Yeah. And then, alright, what else is there to, show you? Oh yeah, I was gonna say, here, or on this thing, you can change the channel. Yeah. You can change the channel on the steering wheel, and actually this didn't have a built-in backup camera, so my dad got one for, or so my dad installed one, and I actually have a dash cam. I was gonna say that it, or we had to get a sticky thing on it, and actually after some time it began to unstick. So, and we haven't yet got to sticking it back up again. Yeah, but however, I have used that before. Like if I have set it up before and used it. Like if I have time to set it up. All right, what else is there to show you? All right. Oh yeah, I was going to say or this is relatively minor, but I was going to say that that one of my preset buttons doesn't always work. Like, see, like yeah, as you can see there, I pressed it and it didn't and it didn't respond the first time, so that is a bit of a minor issue if I want to listen to my preset 3. But however, I mean, however, it's not really too big of a deal. And then yeah, and then it also has, I was actually going to say this car, I was going to say this car actually doesn't have automatic headlights, which is kind of a disappointment. Because I have to turn, or because sometimes I forget to turn them on. You know what? I was gonna say that this car actually has. I don't know how many cars have this because obviously I don't sit in the driver's seat. But however, I was gonna say that that this car has something that can roll down the 4 windows, as you can see there. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, I mean, as I said, I don't really know, like, how many cars have that, but, however, however, I do, appreciate that feature. Yeah, and then, oh yeah, I was also gonna say that this, we haven't used it yet, and, I mean, even though I'd like to, but this car also has, this car, so this car also has a sunroof, as you can see here. Yeah, it has a sunroof. So actually, I don't know, like, I've actually been trying, like, as you can see there, it doesn't really, like, fully open. I don't know if it's, like, broken or anything, but however, yeah, I can't really open it or close it beyond, or beyond that right there. So, yeah, that is a bit of a disappointment. I mean, I don't know, not too much, because we actually haven't, we actually haven't used it that much. Actually also has an aux button right there. I was gonna say, I don't really know, like, how it works. I can't find any headphone, or like I'm not sure if it's broken or anything, but I can't find any headphone jack port, which I'm pretty sure these would be around, as this was a 2008 car. I was gonna say, I know my mom's new car, which is from 2017, or I should say newer car. But her car actually doesn't have a headphone jack. But however, I mean, that's not really surprising to me, because, like, as you probably know, like, headphone jacks are nowadays, headphone jacks are, like, a little more obsolete than whereas in 2008 headphone jacks were really common. So I'm not really sure. Like I was actually gonna say that once I was actually riding with my sister and one of her friends in this car just for fun. But however, and she asked me, or she actually asked me to like set up Bluetooth on her phone. And I don't know, I don't really know, like, if we, like, I can't really remember, but eventually one of us, like, came to the conclusion that this car doesn't have Bluetooth. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, so I'm not exactly sure, like, if you press the aux button, it's supposed to, like, turn on Bluetooth or whatever. I'm also going to say about the car that actually, while my radio does work pretty fine, and it doesn't really work too much worse than like the average car radio, I will say that two of my radio presets, which are on the other side of town, actually sometimes get somewhat staticky. And actually, I don't know, like, or I was going to say one time at night, which actually someone did tell me that radio stations or FM stations work worse at night. Or one of my FM stations at night once actually briefly like went like almost completely staticky at night, which I would consider that I would consider that unusual. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all probably know this, but I felt like mentioning this. It has cruise control, and cruise control isn't broken. I just felt like mentioning that just because like whenever we were looking at cars on Craigslist. I saw cruise the description usually listed that it had cruise control, so I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess I decided to mention that just because of like that I decided to mention that I guess just because like some cruise controls might break according to like what is implied by what they were saying. But however, yeah, and then it also has accelerator. I'm not sure how many cars have this. I didn't really know it. I mean, like, whenever I first heard of cruise control, I actually didn't know about this feature, but you have the ability to accelerate and deaccelerate. Yeah, which I do appreciate that quite a lot. And then, what else is there to, show? I was also going to say, I noticed this recently. I don't really use it, but I don't know. I mean, I might use it, but I don't really know if I would think to use it. I mean, I'd usually be driving, so I'd be too busy to use it, but you can adjust the bass. Oh, oops, ugh. And the treble, and yeah, I'm gonna return everything back to the fader. Balance. Your favorite songs are on Mix 96.5. And then I don't know what this is. SVC. I don't know. If someone could tell me what that means, I'd like to know. I didn't really notice any difference in the sound whenever it changed. Yeah. And then this is probably going to be the last thing I'm going to say about the car, but I actually don't really know how much gas mileage I get. I like getting good gas mileage, and that matters to me a lot because I find it kind of annoying. Or I don't just care about good gas mileage because for cheaper gas, but I also care more about it because like I find it kind of annoying to have to stop for gas. This is actually the first time I'm doing it, but however, I have it at 80, or it's at 80.6 miles, and it's like a little over halfway, it's a little less than halfway empty. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Before I leave, I have some things to, say. I was going to say this video was actually, out of the 5 options I gave, this video was suggested by all 4 people that I asked. I was going to say the first one that asked me was actually my cousin's boyfriend. His name is Reed, and one of my other cousin's boyfriends, Jordan, also suggested that to me. Those were the first 2 people to suggest that. Yeah, so shout out to them. And then we actually got this car for $3,100. Yeah, and then overall, let's summarize it. I do like this car pretty well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, or overall, it's far from the best car I would get. I would much rather have like a late 2010s car, as they feel a lot more new. Because like I don't know, like I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've gotten used to them, but these leather seats here aren't were like at the beginning they weren't really my thing, and I really preferred the seats more in my parents' cars. I don't know. I was gonna say, as for whether or not I would recommend it for you, I was gonna say that we actually got this car for $3,100, which is actually a good amount less than what you could expect for a car this old. Like I actually looked on Craigslist for cars near my area, and out of 15 search results I found, the average price for cars from 2005 to 2011 was $8,531. So it was nearly, or so this was nearly, or so that's which is nearly triple the price we got it for. But however, which I did say it kind of seems like this car has gone through a little bit of wear and tear, or like a tiny bit of wear and tear, as like the radio works a little bit worse than it used to, apparently. Well, I feel like, I don't know, or in terms of whether or not I'd recommend this car, I'd say that if you're looking for like a cheap car, or like if you have a low budget like we did, I would probably recommend this car. The only five things that I really like that five things this car is missing that I actually really care about that are on modern cars are automatic headlights, Bluetooth, GPS, backup camera, and I didn't mention this, but actually it won't charge your phone whenever the car is off. Like at least the ignition has to be on for it to charge your phone. So yeah. But overall, this isn't really a bad car for. But however, I mean, I do appreciate I do appreciate the car and most of the things it has. Yeah. I mean, like, or however, as I did say about, however, I mean, I don't know. I mean, as I mentioned earlier about how this is far from the best car, I would say that if your budget is much higher, if you're trying to look for a normal car that can do a lot, I probably would not recommend this car. But however, I do feel like it did have a pretty good value. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it. And I really hope to post some new videos soon. So I'd like you to like give me some requests. And anyways, I'll see y'all later. Bye.